30 charts in 30 minutes. Let's go over to Tableau desktop and get started. How do you build a simple bar chart in Tableau? This bar chart is showing sum of sales by region. Let's take a look. First, we're going to take a dimension like region and put it on rows. And then we can use sales on columns to give us a bar chart. Sort the bar chart highest to lowest by clicking the sort button. You can also add color by dragging a copy of sales onto color. I have it set to purple, but you can change it to a different color. A bar chart can also turn into a column chart with one click. Click the Swap Rows and Columns button, and it becomes a column bar chart. A side-by-side bar chart or a grouped bar chart is good for comparing multiple dimensions at the same time in a visual format. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. First, we're going to build a standard bar chart using category on columns and sales on rows. That gives us a bar chart. Let's sort it highest to lowest. In addition, let's group category by segment by dragging segment onto columns. This gives us a grouped bar chart. You can also switch segment and category to show it in a different way. Let's move segment back and take a copy of category onto color. And that's how you build a grouped column chart in Tableau. A line chart is best for comparing a measure over time. In this case, I'm showing categories by month on a line chart. Let's take a look at how to build that in Tableau. In general, line charts are best at showing data over time. So let's start with a date. If I bring in date by right-clicking order date and dragging it onto columns, I get the option of what kind of date I want to see. I'm going to change it to month year. That gives me a mark for each month year in my review. I can add sales to rows, and I get a line chart. You can split this line chart by bringing region onto detail. Now I have a line for each region. A better view would be to put region on color, and that's going to give me multiple lines in multiple colors. That's a line chart in Tableau. As an added effect on your line chart, you can add circles to each point on a line. Let's take a look at how to add those in Tableau desktop. Start by building a line chart by putting sales on rows and date on columns. Let's change it from year to month. This gives us a line chart. Fill the entire view. Let's add circles to each dot by taking a copy of sales and putting it on rows. On the second axis, you're going to set this to be a circle. Create the dual axis by clicking a drop down on sales and selecting dual axis. You have to synchronize your axes by right-clicking the axis and selecting synchronize axis. You can change the color or add borders as well. And that's adding circles to a line chart in Tableau. Like a bar chart, a pie chart is great at comparing items within a dimension. In this case, I have a pie chart of region and sales. Let's take a look at how to build that in Tableau desktop. Let's start by dragging region to color and then changing from automatic to pie. You can drag sales to angle and a copy of sales on size. You can put a copy of region and sales onto label to show the labels. You can add a percentage of total by clicking on sum of sales and changing it to a quick table calculation percentage of total. And that's a pie chart in Tableau. A donut chart is a twist on a pie chart in Tableau. It's built exactly like a pie chart with one modification. Let's start by building a pie chart by putting region on color, change the mark type to a pie, and then add sales to angle and a copy of sales on size. That gives us a pie chart. In order to make this a donut chart, we need to type max of 0 into rows. Do that twice. You'll see that gives me 2 pie charts. On the second pie chart, remove everything. We're going to make this white and remove the label as well. We're going to make the white pie smaller and keep the top pie at the size that it is. Make this a dual axis by clicking on the second pill and selecting dual axis. That gives us a donut chart. Right click max of 0, uncheck show header for each one. A map is a great way to show geographical data in Tableau. In this case, I'm showing sum of quantity by state. The darker the state, the higher the quantity. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. The best way to build a filled map in Tableau is by double-clicking a geographical field. You can tell they're geographical fields because they have a world sign next to them. I'm going to double-click on state, and it will default to a point map. I could bring in quantity and put it on color to fill in my map. And that's how you build a filled map in Tableau. In Tableau, a map can have multiple layers. In this case, I'm showing a filled map of state by quantity. Overlaying is a point map of sales by city. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by building a filled map by double-clicking on state and then bringing sales to color. That gives us a filled map of sales. You can overlay city by adding a second axis. Let's bring a copy of latitude onto the view. Now I have two maps. On my second axis, I'm going to bring in quantity onto color and city onto detail. Let's bring down my size a little bit. You can also take a copy of quantity and put it onto size. Let's make it a little bit bigger. We have two maps, a filled map and a point map. To bring them together, click the drop down on latitude and click dual axis. That gives you a point map and a filled map together. A tree map is similar to a bar chart. You're showing multiple dimensions, and the bigger the square, the higher the amount. In this case, I'm coloring the squares by sum of profit and cutting the data by category and segment. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by changing your mark type to square. We're going to bring in category onto detail and segment onto detail. You can put quantity on size to give you a tree map. You can color by bringing in a field like profit. And let's set this as a diverging color. Blue-orange diverging is popular. You can show any of these on label by holding Control down and dragging category to label, segment to label, profit, and quantity to label. And that's a tree map in Tableau. A stacked bar chart is used when you want to compare multiple dimensions together with a measure. In this case, I'm showing region on rows and category on color, so you can see each category colored within each region. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by building a column chart by bringing region onto rows and then sales onto columns. Let's fill the entire screen and sort highest to lowest. I can add color by bringing category to the color shelf to add a stacked bar chart version. Can also add the labels. A stacked bar chart can be converted into a stacked column chart by clicking the button in the middle, swap rows and columns. And that's a stacked chart in Tableau. A stacked bar chart is used to compare dimensions and see a percentage of total. In this case, I have a bar for each region and the category values stack up to 100%. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by building a bar chart by putting sales on rows and region on columns. Let's fill the entire view and sort highest to lowest. You can add color by bringing category onto the color shelf. Let's stack this to 100% instead of the value by clicking the drop down on sales, quick table calculation, and percentage of total. You'll notice that the bars do not add up to 100%. West, for example, only adds up to 32% total. Edit your table calculation and edit the indexing. So if I click on specific dimensions, I want this to calculate for each region. Now I have a 100% bar chart for each region. You can also click Label, Show Mark Labels to show the label on the bar. In addition, you can swap rows and columns to make it a 100% horizontal chart. And that's a stacked column and bar chart in Tableau. How do you build a packed bubble chart in Tableau? In this example, I'm showing regions and products and then showing the size of the circle by sales. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. First, change your mark type to a circle. Bring in your dimensions, like region, onto color, and product, onto detail. That's going to give you a circle for each region and product combo. You can add size by bringing sales to the size shelf, and this gives you a packed bubble chart. Any of these pills can be used on label as well. Let's put sales on the label. And that's a packed bubble chart in Tableau. An area chart is great for showing values over time and stacking them by a dimension like region. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by building a line chart by putting sales on rows and date on columns. You can change it from year to month year. That gives us a line chart. In order to cut this by a color, like category, we're going to put category onto color. Change it from automatic to area. That gives you an area chart. You'll notice that the area chart is stacked. So on the bottom we have technology, and stacking on top of it we have office supplies and then furniture. If you don't want them to be stacked, click on Analysis, Stack Marks, and turn it off. Now you can see an unstacked version of an area chart. A scatterplot can be used to compare two measures and show a lot of different marks at one time. In this case, I'm showing sales versus profit and showing every record in my data. Let's take a look at how to build a scatterplot in Tableau. Start by bringing in sales and profit onto columns and rows. Sales can go onto rows, and profit can go onto columns. Tableau aggregates measures, so we have sum of profit and sum of sales, so only one mark. In order to disaggregate this view, you can click on Analysis, Aggregate Measures. That's going to give you one mark for each row in your data. If you want to swap the rows and columns, click this button in the middle. I'm going to put a copy of profit onto color and a copy of sales onto size. Let's increase the size a little bit. And we have a scatter plot. If you want to show your scatter plot at a different level of detail, click on Analysis, Aggregate Measures, and drag in your dimensions. We can drag in region, and that gives us 4 circles, 1 circle for each region. We can also drag in category, and we keep getting more circles for each unique region and category combo. As you add more dimensions, you get more circles. And that's a scatter plot in Tableau. Gantt charts are used for showing a progression over time. What I'm showing on the screen is a Gantt chart over time showing how many days it took to ship each order. I have it colored by category. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by dragging order date onto columns. I'm going to change it to exact date. Let's add in our orders onto rows. Let's filter. Let's only add a few of them. Click OK. And have each order ID. To change it into a Gantt chart, we need to click on Automatic and change it to Gantt bar. You're going to need something on size, so write a calculation, call this size. It's simply going to be date diff, how many days between order date and ship date. Click apply, okay? And let's put size onto size shelf. Now I get a longer bar for each order showing how many days it has been from the order date to the ship date. You can also color by a dimension like region. And that's a Gantt chart in Tableau. A bar and whisker plot is used to show the distribution of a measure across a dimension. In this case, I'm showing the distribution of sales within regions. Let's take a look at how to build that in Tableau. In order to build a box plot, first we're going to need a measure. I'm going to use sales You can double click. It gives me the sum of sales. Click on Analysis and disaggregate your measures. Click Show Me and then change it to a box and whisker plot. You can remove Show Me. Now we have a box plot for total sales. You can cut this box plot by bringing in region onto columns and bringing segment onto columns as well. You can also take a copy of region and put it onto color. Sometimes box plots look a little bit better if you filter them down. So I'm going to take a copy of sales, bring it to filters, and only keep values between 0 and 1,000. Click Apply, OK, and you can better analyze your data with a box plot. And that's how you build a box plot in Tableau. A Pareto chart is a bar chart and a line chart overlaid. The bar chart is a sum of a measure by a dimension, sorted highest to lowest, and the line chart overlay shows the percentage of total as a running total. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start building a bar chart. We're going to put sales on rows and state on columns. Sort it highest to lowest. Then we're going to add a copy of sales. Put it on rows. This pill we're going to change to a quick table calculation. It's going to be a running total. Change it to a line. We want to add a calculation on top of the running total to be a percentage of total. So click on the drop down on sum of sales, edit your table calculation. Add a secondary table calculation, and we're going to use percentage of total. Close that out. Let's make this a dual axis by clicking the second pill and selecting dual axis. Click on your first pill and change it back to a bar chart. Now we have a Pareto chart in Tableau. A barbell chart shows how a dimension changes over time. So in this example, we have subcategories, and we're showing how it changes from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22. Let's take a look at how to build that in Tableau. Start by putting subcategory onto rows, and then dragging sum of sales onto columns. Let's make this a circle chart. So we have one circle for each subcategory. Filter it down to only 2 years. So I'm going to use date on filter, years, and only include 2 years. Bring a copy of year onto detail. That's going to give us 2 dots for each subcategory. You can color year as well to give you 2 different color dots. I'm going to add the line chart by taking a copy of sales, putting it on columns. On the second pill, change it from a circle to a line. Make sure you move year of order date to path so the line goes along year. Remove color and change this to a dual axis. You can remove one of the axes by right-clicking and selecting Show Header. And that's how you build a barbell chart in Tableau. A bar chart and line chart combo is good at showing multiple measures over time. In this example, I have sales as a bar chart and quantity as a line chart. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by grabbing order date and putting it onto columns. Let's change this to month year. You can make it a line chart by bringing quantity onto rows. I can add a second axis by grabbing sales and putting it onto rows next to quantity. Click on the sales pill and change it to a bar. Make sure quantity is set to a line. You can set the dual axis by clicking the second drop down and selecting dual axis. If the line is behind the bar chart, just swap quantity and sales. You have 2 options on axes synchronization. Right now, the quantity axis goes to 1800 and the sales axis goes to 120,000. If you want the axes to be equal, right-click the second one and click Synchronized Axis. Now quantity goes to 120,000 and sales goes to 120,000. And that's a bar and line combo in Tableau. A histogram shows the distribution of a measure. In this example, I'm showing how sales is distributed across the data. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by double clicking sales to get the sum of sales. Let's add a bin, so click the drop down on sales and create bin. I'm going to call this bin 3, and the bin size will be 250. Click OK. I can add this bin to columns and change sum of sales to count of sales. That's going to give me a histogram. So there are 7,700 rows between 0 and 250, and 1,034 rows between 250 and 500, and so on. That's how you build a histogram in Tableau. A cumulative area chart or bar chart can be used to show values over time and how they accumulate. Let's take a look at how to build that in Tableau. First, build a line chart using sales and date. You can change date to month year. Let's change it to an area chart by clicking automatic and then selecting area. You can cut this by region by putting region on rows, and we get an area chart for each region. In order to add a cumulative line, click the drop down on sales, quick table calculation, and running total. Now we have a running total for each region. I can also take region and put it on color. And that's a running total area chart in Tableau. A map with a pie chart overlay is great at showing a quantity by a geographic field and showing a dimension cut in between. Let's take a look at how to build that in Tableau. Start by building a map by double-clicking state. You can fill this map by putting quantity onto color. Let's add a second axis by taking latitude and putting it to the right on rows. On the second pill, you're going to change this to a pie chart. Change it from automatic to pie. Quantity moves to angle. You have a copy of quantity on size, and add category to color. Let's increase the size, and we have a pie chart. Make this dual axis by clicking the second drop down and selecting dual axis. Now we have a map with a pie overlay. A bump chart is used to show how an item in a dimension ranks over time. In this case, I have regions. East moves from rank of 3 to rank of 4, and then back down to rank of 1. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by building a line chart with date on columns. We're going to use month and sales on rows. Add region to detail, and that's going to give us a line for each region. Fit the entire view. Let's add a table calculation to sales. Quick table calculation, rank. Click the drop down on sales and select edit table calculation. We want rank to be a long region for each month. Close that out. You can also change the path and change path to this type. Put region back onto color, and each region has a line. We can add dots to the chart by taking a copy of sales, putting it on rows, and adding the same table calculation. Click table calculation, rank, and let's change it for each month. Change that mark type from a line to a circle. Make the chart a dual axis by clicking the drop down and selecting dual axis. You should sort a bump chart lowest to highest by right clicking the axis, edit axis, and reversing it. You'll need to reverse the second axis as well. Click edit axis and select reverse. Now you can see north goes from rank of 3 all the way to rank of 4 at the end. And that's a bump chart in Tableau. A Jitterplot is used to show the distribution of a measure within a dimension. It's also randomly distributed left and right so you can see each dot. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by building the distribution by double-clicking on sales, going to analysis, and disaggregating the measures. That gives you a circle for each row. I can add dimensions like region to columns and category to columns. Let's make the dots a little bit smaller. One of the issues with this view is that you can't see all of the dots. They're in one straight line. We can't tell how many dots are down here because they're all overlaying each other. I can push them left and right by typing random into rows and moving it up to columns. Let's fit the entire view. And you'll see that each dot was moved randomly left and right. Finish it out by adding region to color, and we have a Jitterplot. A calendar visual can be used to show how a measure distributes over days. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by dragging order date to filters. We only want 1 year. Let's use 2021. Add a copy of order date to rows. We're going to change it to month. Add another copy of order date to rows, and we're going to change that to week number. Change it into discrete. Take another copy of order date, put it on columns. This time we're going to choose weekday. Let's fill the entire screen. Add another copy of date onto label, and we're going to choose day. You can color this chart by grabbing a measure, like sales, and put it on color. Change it from automatic to square. That's how you build a calendar in Tableau. A quadrant chart is like a scatter plot, but it's used to split your items into multiple categories. The top right is good, the bottom right is okay, top left is okay, and bottom left is bad. Let's take a look at how to build this in Tableau. Start by building a scatter plot by dragging sales to columns and profit to rows. Click Analysis, select Aggregate Measures. You can right-click each axis and add a reference line. Let's change it to constant and add a reference line at 11,000. Click OK. Do the same thing for profit. Add a reference line, set it to constant, and let's set it to 0. In order to color these points, I'll need a calculated field. Let's call this colors. I'm going to write an if statement. If sales is greater than 11,000 and sales profit is greater than 0, then green. Start by typing else, and I'm going to copy the first part of the string. Make it an else if. So if sum of sales is less than 1,000 and greater than profit is greater than 0, then this is going to be orange. Let's keep writing else ifs. So if sales is less than 11,000 and less than 0, it's going to be red. And if sales is greater than 11,000 and less than 0, then yellow. And click apply, okay? And bring that field onto color. Let's just set the colors. We have green, orange, red, and yellow. Click apply. That's how you build a quadrant chart in Tableau.